Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk are on personal journeys of self-discovery that are taking them in different directions, but will their paths cross again? Well, let's hop into the pages of Daredevil issue number 15 and find out together, shall we? Alrighty then, so as the comic opens up, Mayor Wilson Fisk, the former Kingpin, is being called in by the Stormwinds, the richest family in North America and the kingmakers in the New York political scene. Wilson knows this is going to be a pretty awkward conversation because he lost his temper and killed someone at the Stormwinds parties, and now all of his attempts to legalize marijuana in New York State is getting stomped on. Now elsewhere, Matt Murdock is getting up to speed on everything that Foggy Nelson has been able to do for the man that Matt had been looking after in his role as a parole officer, the guy for whom he killed accidentally in the guise of Daredevil. For once, it actually seems like everything might actually turn out alright, and Matt feels good enough to open up to Foggy about everything he's been doing. He's not back to being Daredevil, not yet anyway. He says that he's aiming higher. Choosing to fight corruption at its source instead of on the streets, and helping him along the way is Elektra, even though Matt admits that her being so willing to help is a little out of character for her, and that she might only be playing the long game for something else. Now, during Fisk's meeting with the Stormwinds, they choose to not dance around the issue at all. They come right out and say, hey, you killed a friend of ours at our house, you had the police tromping through our affairs, and we don't like that. Normally, we would have just wrecked your marijuana deal and been the end of it. That's how we normally deal with situations like this, but Wilson Fisk is no normal man. After all, he's a thug, a gutter punk, someone used to being in charge, but who is most definitely in need of being humbled right now and reminded how low on the totem pole he actually is. And to teach this lesson, the Stormwinds, moneybags that they are, have spared absolutely no expense. They got a bunch of private security outfitted with advanced body armor. Basically, to borrow a quote from The Godfather, Wilson keeps trying to get out, but they keep pulling him back in. And speaking of getting in, that's exactly what Daredevil and Elektra are doing right now. They figured out that a lot of the corruption that is running through Hell's Kitchen right now comes right from the top. The police commissioner is not interfering in the current gang war, and that's because the governor told him to. Surprise, surprise, guess who the governor works for? That's right, the Stormwinds. They're the whole reason he has a job. They own the police department, they own the news, and what they say goes in New York. This basically confirms everything I've been saying since a couple issues ago, and that is that Matt and Wilson are fighting the same battle against the same enemy. They just don't know it yet because they're coming at it from two totally different angles. And fight they do, Wilson against the hired goons, and Daredevil and Elektra against the governor's own private security. Here's the big difference though, eventually Daredevil hits upon the idea that there's really no reason to keep fighting the hired help, they're just doing their jobs and he already got the information he came for, so why not cut and run? Wilson feels the quite opposite way though, fighting with every inch of his being, and if the change in lighting is any indication, he literally fought these guys until sundown. Until he was eventually overwhelmed and thrown out a window. Oh no, the Stormwinds don't want to kill him, he's still an important cog in their machine, they just want to remind him who's boss moving forward. It's a truly heartbreaking moment too, as we see a sad, dejected, broken Kingpin tumbling to the ground below, not knowing who he is anymore and what's going on. Transversely, Elektra celebrates Matt for a job well done, saying that he's made amazing strides in his training and finally is on the road to doing some actual good now that he's set his sights on fighting crime in a non-reactionary way. In fact, she says he's found himself again, and to celebrate that, they should knock some superhero boots. And so that was Daredevil number 15, and if you couldn't tell, this was another absolutely stellar issue from Chip Zdarsky, who at this point is making this Daredevil run look absolutely easy. I love that Kingpin gets almost as much time in humanization as Matt himself. I love that they've turned Elektra into a kind of Chekhov's gun moment. You don't know whose side she's ultimately going to be on at the end of all of this. Heck, I love the idea that the Stormwinds make perfect sense as villains for both Kingpin and Daredevil. They're not ninjas, they're not supervillains, they're just jerk-ass rich people, who I can only assume the proper way to overcome them is for Daredevil and Kingpin to work together, or maybe not. Maybe they just both need to reach the tail end of their development at the same time. Overall, I'd give this a 9.5. Great stuff.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing me right now, it means you watched to the end of the video, of which I will always be appreciative of. It really helps with retention and all that other good YouTube stuff. If you really like my work, you can check me out on social media. I have links down in the description of the video you're watching right now to all my different socials. I got the Twitter, I got the Instagram, I got the Facebook. I'm very easy to be reached, and if you follow me there, you can be the first to know about when a new video goes live. And with that, I will bid you all adieu. Bye-bye.